Hey everybody, welcome back to Trap Life 24/7. I'm Joe, and here's what's going on for today's show. We got a lot to talk about today.
Joseph Turzo. Joseph Turzo. Turzo.
So I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've posted anything. I've been real busy with a whole lot of stuff. We have a new baby coming this week, so I'm trying to get everything in and done before the baby comes, and I'm out for a couple weeks. So what we're gonna do is, I got a lot of questions that a lot of people have been asking me with ATA and shoots and how to register and all that stuff. So what we're gonna do today is we're pretty much gonna go over all the stuff that will get you into ATA. I'm going to try to break it down detail by detail. If it is a little hard for you to understand, just let me know, message me on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll try to answer your question as fast as possible and as easy as possible. But I pretty much have it down to the point to where you need to, how to get into the ATA, how to sign up, how to get into ScoreZar, how to watch your shoots, how to pretty much just do anything when you walk into that club to go shoot your ATA shoot. This is a really tough subject for a lot of people. This pretty much scares a lot of people into, oh, well, I don't want to shoot the ATA because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to do it, and I don't know how to register, I don't know how to do anything. Shooting ATA is all over the place. So it is hard, it's difficult. When I first started shooting, it was the hardest thing for me to figure out because nobody told me anything. A lot of people just go, oh yeah, just, go ahead and go shoot it, you'll figure it out. It's not that easy. It is a little difficult to figure it out for your first time. If you're a high school kid and you're shooting on teams and you're used to your coach doing everything for you, well, now you graduated high school, or you're in high school and you want to start doing ATA shoots, you need to learn how to pretty much present everything before you walk into the actual shoot. You need to know what's going on, you need to know what the program is, you need to know how you're keeping track of scores for yourself and everybody else. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over everything, we're going to try to figure everything out together. It's very simple once you get used to it. It's a very simple deal. I'm on the ATA site 2 times a day, 3 times a day. I'm on ScoreZar all the time trying to figure out, I'm watching other shoots that I'm not at, but I want to see what my team members are shooting. I want to see what their scores are. I want to be able to do all of that. So this will hopefully break it all down and make it very easy for you. So this is pretty much the beginner's guide to getting into ATA and ScoreZar, and pretty much just learning the basics on how to get into actual ATA shooting. So stick with me. We'll go over this whole thing. We'll do it step by step. I'll try to make this as easy as possible. So if you want, I'll just put the phone right up to the whiteboard. You can screenshot it. I would prefer that. That way you know step by step how to get into it. There's a ton of questions that you guys could ask me on ATA. I'll go through everything with you guys. I'll try to do everything. I'll try to answer all your questions. I'll try to figure this all out with you. So hold on, we'll get through this. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna get on the actual ATA website. So You're gonna go to myata.com. What you're gonna do is you're gonna find the link. You'll see the ATA logo with the link. You click that link and you get into it. Find the create account link in the actual ATA site, and what that's gonna be, it'll probably be at the top right corner. And you need to add in all your login info. You need to create a new account. So you're gonna need your address, your credit card, your, everything that you need, just the basic stuff from when you create a new account. Now, I believe the membership is about 15 bucks for a year. You can do 3-year, and then you can do a lifetime membership as well. Now, I always do a year membership just in case something happens or whatnot, but why I should do a lifetime account. But add in your login info right here. So ATA number and password. They're going to give you an ATA number when you sign up. You're going to get all that stuff through an email, and you're going to need to hold on to that number. If you don't have that number, you're not going to be able to log into the account. So what you're going to do is you're going to create your password, and you're going to need your ATA number for when you log in. Now, obviously pay your membership fee. What you're going to want to do is when you get onto the actual ATA site and you get into your own account now, you'll see at the bottom where it says average card. What you're going to do is you got to print out that actual average card. Okay, and we'll get into that more in a minute as to why you need that average card with you. But if you want to just look around for when you first get in there, you're going to look for clubs and shoots.
So fly, yeah, we taking over the town. Watch them throw it back for a stack, make it bounce for a while. See the vibe go low. Got no time for being shy. With all this paper I can buy. Wanna see you moving
now. Say you're in Illinois. The closest club to me is McHenry Sportsman Club. Now, if I want to see the whole list of ATA shoots that they're holding for the year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click their link and click McHenry Sportsman Club. When you pull it up, it'll say the club address at the top. It'll say who's in charge of that club. It'll give you all the info about the club, what their website is, their Facebook site, all that stuff. Now, which goes, when you get into it, obviously choose a state that you're in, find the club, and then look for a date that you want to shoot. Now, say you got nothing to do for the end of October, and they're holding an ATA shoot. When you click that link and you open up that date for October, it'll have the date of the shoot, what kind of shoot it is, and most of the time it'll have the program on there. A lot of on there. A lot of these clubs don't put the program on there, so you don't know how many targets it is. You don't know how much it's going to cost. You don't know, when it starts. You don't know all that stuff. All it is, it just says ATA registered shoot, and it says program not available. I see that a lot for a lot of shoots. So the big problem with that is a lot of people have no idea what's going on because a lot of these clubs don't load it onto the ATA site. Why, I don't know. I believe if they did, it would make everything a heck of a lot easier, so you don't have to run around all over the place to try to figure out what this actual shoot's going to be. So, which brings us next to shooter program, right? So I want to know what the program is for the actual club. What's going to happen is they either got a Facebook page or they have their own website. I've seen it to where they don't even have a website and they only do all their business off of Facebook. Now, you gotta find them in between. Sometimes they don't even have their own website link posted on their ATA page, so it makes everything a little harder. This is the biggest problem with people with not knowing what the actual program is going to be and where it's going to be, you know, all that. So how much it's going to cost, how many targets they're throwing, all that stuff. 99% of the time they'll have it on their Facebook page or their club website. Check their club website first because that's always the first thing that they're going to post it on if they have it. If they don't have it on there, check their Facebook, and you'll be able to find the program. You might have to do some scrolling, but it is what it is. A lot of these people aren't really too tech savvy with, you know, making all these programs for the actual ATA site, so they just put it on the Facebook. Now, you need to read the program. If you don't read this program and you don't know what's going on, you don't know if it's going to be 50 targets per event. You don't know if it's going to be 100 targets per event. You don't know when they're going to start. You don't know how much everything's going to cost. You don't know how much the options are going to be. A lot of these clubs don't take credit card. They only take cash. So if you bring $160, well, that's most likely only going to cover maybe one option and pay for the actual shoot if you're shooting 300 targets, doubles, singles, and handicap. So what's going to happen is you're out of money. They don't have an ATM. Now you got to go drive to the gas station, and now you're running behind schedule, and you're probably going to miss your first shoot. So read the program. Always try to find it. If you can't get a program and you can't find it, call the club, ask them. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to tell you, you know, what's going on for that date. I know it sucks, but it is a very common deal. No one ever has a program posted on the ATA site. So that being said, once you figure out what you're going to do for that shoot and what the options are and, you know, how many targets it's going to be and all that stuff, what you're going to do is, okay, I want to shoot that shoot and I want to have 5 of my friends shoot it with me, okay, or 4 of my friends. So you're going to get on scoresar.com. When you get on scoresar.com, it's in red lettering on the actual website or on the link, and you can't miss it. You got to go on there. You got to create an account for Scoresar. A lot of these clubs use Scoresar. Now around me in Illinois, Northern Illinois, they use Scoresar for everything. There's a whole bunch of other sites that you can go on, Pre-Squad and all that stuff, and but a lot of times it's listed in their program what website to go on to in order to squad for that event. Now you need to, you don't need to squad for that event right away. You can do it when you get there, but I would recommend squatting for that event the second you figure it out, instead of getting there and then squatting for the event and you're last person to shoot for every single one. Then you're there till 6 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. I've done it countless times where I get there and I forgot to squad, and now I'm there late every single day. You know, if it's a 3 or 4 day event or a weekend event, you're there every day late, and now you gotta wait for everybody to shoot. I mean, it kind of ruffles your feathers, but it is what it is. So you create your account, you log in with your ATA number and the Scoresar password. Now you have your own account made. What you do is you click Pre-Squad for your event that you actually want to shoot, right? So what you're going to do is click all clubs, click the link on their page that says all clubs to find your shoot, right? So there's a little gray bar on Scoresar, it'll say all clubs. You click it, you find your club, you just keep scrolling and scrolling, you find your club, and what you want to do is you want to click that club and then find their shoot that they're doing for that weekend in October that you just found on the ATA site, and you want to squad for all 3 events, or 2 events if they're holding 2. Now you click the shoot and you want to choose your squad and your position. Say your buddy called you up and said, hey, I squatted for this whole shoot and I need you to jump on my squad so we can fill it up. So what you do is you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of boxes lined up. It's 5 boxes, and you'll see squad 1, squad 2, squad 3, squad 4, squad 5. What that's going to do is that's the squad that your buddies are on, and for singles you put in, okay, I want to be on position 4, so you're on position 4 for singles. For handicap, you're 23.5 yard. So you type in 23.5 yard, and then on your whatever position that you want to shoot on, so 1, 2, 3, or 5. So you just do that for all 3 events: singles, handicap, and doubles. Now, whether you're with or without your buddies, if you want, now the good thing about this is where you can choose to be the first squad out, or in the middle of the shoot, or be the last squad out. A lot of people like being last, a lot of people like being first. You know, it really depends on what preference you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose options for those 3 events. Now, a lot of times they have 3 options, 2 options, and it's like $10 each. Click those options, log it in, click complete for each one, because if you don't, then it won't log in your options. Now, you're going to do that for all 3 events, and then when you're done and you go to shoot overview, on the bottom it's in yellow, it's highlighted yellow, it says shoot overview on the bottom. After you're done pre-squatting and doing all your options, you print it out. Always print it out, because it has all of your info on it for when you go to the shoot. You bring that with you to the shoot, that way you know what spot you're on, what position, you know, what event is first. Sometimes they'll throw doubles first, some places throw handicap first, or they throw singles first. So it's never singles, handicap, doubles. It's always mixed around. So bring that with you to the shoot, that way you know what you're doing. And then now, since you're pre-squatted, you bring that piece of paper to the shoot. Well, what's going to happen is now you don't have to wait in line, and you don't have to, you know, sometimes these lines are an hour long, and you don't have to sit there for an hour and then, you know, wait to sign up on your squad. Like for the state shoots and stuff like that, it's always a line out the door. What you're going to do is take that piece of paper, walk up to the guy who's squatting everybody, let him know that you're squatted, give him your ATA card. Your card is going to be either blue or gold. Now, your ATA card, which you'll get from ATA sign up, ATA will send it to you, but this also, you got to bring your actual average card with you, because if you haven't shot yet and you don't have 500 targets, what they're going to do is they're going to probably put you on either 19 yards or 20 yards for your handicap. Now it depends on how many targets you got. If you got your amount of targets that you need, you know, and that way they'll know where to put you, and you know they'll figure that out for you. You just need to pay attention to your ATA. So just keep constantly checking your ATA site after you do your first shoot. Now most of the time they will have what yardage you're going to be on, because obviously you have no registered targets for that year. So most likely you're going to be on 19 or 20 yard. What they're going to do is when you have your Scores R sheet from your pre-squad, you just walk up, show the guy your ATA card, show him your average card, that way he knows everything's correct, and show him your pre-squad sheet, and all he's going to do is log in your info real quick, and then you just go to the guy and pay. Versus having to go to 3 different people. One guy does all your pre-squatting, one guy checks everything and makes sure everything's correct, and then gets your total price, and then the other guy is a cashier. So there's 3 people you got to go through. Makes your life 10 times easier when you have that pre-squat sheet done. Now what you're going to do is, after you get that all done and paid up for, because you know how much everything costs, because Scores R has a total price on there of what the whole entire shoot's going to cost with the actual options. You're going to go set up. A lot of shoots always start between 9 and 10 o'clock. I've even been to some shoots where they start at 11 o'clock. Just make sure you read that on the program what time they start. Always get there an hour early, find your parking, get everything ready, get your squatting ready, pay for your shoot, get all that done. Always get there an hour early. I always get there an hour and a half early, because I like to talk to everybody and hang out and you know all that. So what you're going to do is, let's see, so I don't lose my spot. Now you're at the event, right? And what you can do is, when you're shooting that event, you can watch everyone's scores on the pre-squad. So, or on Scores R, I'm sorry. And you can watch as you're going through the shoot. Say you're, you know, the 15th squad out. Well, they're going to start having scores in scoresr.com. And what you're going to do is, so in order to figure that out and see everyone's scores, you're going to click ATA and PITA shoots today. What that's going to have is, you'll see your club listed on the bottom of that, and you just click it. It'll immediately pull up all the scores for everybody. It's nice. You can see what, you know, what spot you're in, whether you're in first place, second, third, fourth. You can go through everything, figure all that out, and what it's going to do is you can watch all those scores for every single event all day long. They even have winners in there. They have a category for winners. You can click that. Money event, if you've won any money, always check up on that stuff, because if you leave, you don't get your money half of the time. You know, for all of these smaller clubs, they always pay out right away. These other bigger clubs, they always just send you a check. You can check who the winners are for that event. So if you want a trophy, you'll see it. It'll be in there. You'll know right away. So you always want to keep an eye on that. And what you're going to do is, when you figure all that out, and you don't ever leave a shoot right away, because someone could tie with you on the last squad and you leave, you know, before the last 3 squads are done. I've done it. I've done it to where Illinois shoot last year, I ended up being in a shoot off for handicap for first, and I ended up leaving. Well, they called me. I was 30 minutes away. They called me and they said, "Hey, come back. You need to do your shoot off for winter for your class." And I didn't make it in time. I was real upset, and they said, "Well, too bad." Well, I couldn't really argue with them, because yeah, it was my fault. I should never have left. So back on track. shooter program, check the Facebook or the club website for the info, or call the club. Now, to print your average card out, always have your average card on you. When you're doing a shoot, you need to keep track of your scores. You need to figure out your average. Now, you're going to be in either A, B, C, or D class, AA, AAA. Now, obviously, if you're a new beginner, you're most likely going to be in D class for everything, for doubles and singles. And you need to be able to keep track of your average, because some of these clubs take 2 to 3 weeks to upload your scores on the actual ATA site. So you won't know your average for 2 to 3 weeks. Well, in that time span, you could be going to 2 or 3 other shoots, and you could be getting squatted wrong, which sucks, because you'll get disqualified if you're end up being like a A-class shooter and you're already over 500 targets, and obviously you didn't classify right. So everyone's going to see that. Everyone's going to see what class you're in, what you're supposed to be in. So just keep track of your actual scores, put it on your actual average card. That way, when you bring it to the next club, say, hey, this is my average card, this is where I'm at, and then they'll squad you correctly for what you should be in. So if you're from D class and you shot a high 90, you'll most likely get bumped up to C class. If you win something or anything like that, you get bumped up. They need to know that. So keep the average card on you no matter what. Bring it to every shoot until your scores start getting updated on ATA. Some clubs will have it uploaded within the next day, but a lot of the times it takes a week or 2 for those clubs to load it. Now, always bring your ATA card with you, with your average card. They have to scan it. They have to write down your ATA number. They got to do they have to look at everything. Now, follow your club's directions, whether it's going to be, it's kind of hard. A lot of clubs do a lot of stuff differently. What they'll do is today we're going to do handicap first, then we're going to shoot singles, and then we're going to shoot doubles. Lately, a lot of clubs have been doing, we're doing doubles first, then we're doing singles, and then we're doing handicap. It's been changing a little more and more lately that I've seen. But I mean, you just got to follow that program. Have that program with you. They'll have perpetuals in there. You can win a boatload of money if you shoot 25 straight on the first 25, and you shoot 25 straight on the third box. You could win $1,500. I've done it. I've won it. It's you just got to follow that program. So I try not to look at that program for stuff like that because it gets into my head. But you're also going to be in a shoot-off. You're going to, they have a whole list of every little thing that they're doing for in-state, out-of-state trophies. They got all that stuff. Whether you can win this, whether you won't get a trophy, even though if you win. I've been to places where I've won events high all around, and I haven't gotten a trophy for it because I was out of state. So it doesn't matter, but you got to read that, and you got to understand that a lot of places don't give trophies to out-of-state shooters. If you have any questions and you need to figure out a little bit more, and you got more questions when you sign up on all these websites, because these are the most common used stuff around here. Now, like I say, around here, other places, they got other links or apps to, take a look at your shoots and all that stuff. But Scoresar is what I mainly use a lot of the time. It's always on there, or Pre-Squad. Always just keep checking your stuff, make sure everything's done right. If you have any questions, give me a call, ask me, message me on Facebook. Take a look at, just go over everything. Take some time out of your day and actually take a look at, what ATA has and all that stuff. We'll get further into that and we'll figure everything out.